Knights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a little bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King. That's right, and this is a program I, at least for the moment, am still doing twice weekly until we decide about some new Patreon exclusives for the Hail to Stephen King fans. But until then, savor in some awesome coverage that I've been looking for an excuse to break this shirt back out. And I think the next time I'm going to break it out after this special 3-part bit of coverage and I'm about to let you know what it's all about, I'm going to go back and do a second look at the Dark Tower movie. Yeah. Maybe I'll hate it more, maybe I'll be a little bit more forgiving about some of its stupidity, who the hell knows. But today, we are here, as you can tell by my silly singing at the beginning, to do something for, my boy Eddie Dean classifies us as the Tower Junkies. That's right. This is all about the music of the Dark Tower. Now everybody knows that my homeboy Sai King, who eventually shows up in the Dark Tower, I'm not going to talk about that. If you want to hear my thoughts on books 6 and 7, you can watch my reviews that I did for every single volume of the Dark Tower series, including Wind Through the Keyhole, which is 4.5, including The Little Sisters of Euluria, if I could pronounce it properly. All of those reviews are here on the Horror Show. If you are just stumbling upon this video, I did a ton of coverage last year, a retrospective of the entire series, and so that was a ton of fun. Too bad the movie sucked, but nonetheless, Stephen King is a big music guy. I mean, he even plays in a band with a bunch of other writers. He's not that good of a musician, but you know, I mean, you don't quit your day job, right? Everybody's got to have a hobby. And so the thing is, though, he is very much a student of music, and when you read his books, you can tell just how vast his knowledge and his appreciation is. I kind of envision King as somebody who doesn't just, you know, devour books, but pretty much a lot of art in general, you know, whether it's television stuff or films or music or whatever. I mean, if you jump on his Twitter when he's not ranting about political stuff, he often gives props to other authors, many of them much smaller than him, that he wants you to read. He'll make mention of a TV series, you know, like I think it's called The Americans or something that he was really big into for a while. But long story short, maybe it was Homeland, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to much TV lately unless it's horror here for the show. But nonetheless, the reason I'm talking music is because we're going to be talking about the music of the Dark Tower. And as I did my research for this, this was originally going to be a video talking about music inspired by the Dark Tower, because there's a ton of that. Well, that's going to be a whole separate video. And then I was thinking, well, I'll do a video which is going to be the entirety of all of the music references and important songs and stuff like that that pop up in various parts of the Dark Tower series of books. Well, I had to break that into two as well, because there's just, as I was doing research, hours upon hours of research about this, consulting all of my volumes, rereading particular passages, searching for context, seeing what some other people had written about certain things too. This was a daunting task, much more so than I think I was even anticipating, but let's get right to it, guys. And so everybody knows, like, the very first musical reference that we get in the Dark Tower, it's early on when he's arriving in Tull, that's right, and he's walking in the saloon and Sheb is playing. It's not Sheb, identified as Sheb in the original version of the Gunslinger, but nonetheless, you hear Hey Jude.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let her into your heart, then you can start to make it better.
And yeah, you might not be actually liking that particular version of Hey Jude that I used, but you know what? In an alternate dimension where I'm not worried about the Beatles going after my ass for copyright infringement for even using less than 30 seconds of their song, there is a world where Beatles songs tell a story in a film called Across the Universe. It's crazy. Actually gave me more appreciation for the Beatles, because I used to go around in I was in music school, and I used to talk smack and say, the two most overrated bands of all time, come at me guys, Beatles, Nirvana. Yeah. Anyway, I've grown to appreciate the Beatles, and obviously I love this song. It's epic, it's great, and it shows up at a few different times, at least in reference in like later entries and stuff like that. But Hey Jude, man, I mean, it's just really, it's an interesting connective tissue between Midworld and our world, and just it shows the similarities between, you know, these different corresponding, you know, realities, dimensions, whatever the hell you want to classify them as. And so that's cool. But as he talks later on in the book, you know, and it's only like, you know, maybe 20, 30, a couple chapters later, but he's talking about the songs that, you know, they would sing, and there's a Susan reference there, and, you know, he talks about not only Hey Jude, but then he starts talking about, where the heck is it? I can't even, Ease On Down the Road from the Wiz? Yeah, seriously, check this song out really quick and you'll see some context.
Don't you carry nothing that might be alone? Don't you go down, yeah, down the road. Ease on down, ease down, ease on down, ease down, ease on down.
Did you see it? Besides Diana Ross and Michael J dancing around, rest peacefully, homeboy. You see those towers that were in the distance? I have a feeling that there was some sort of strange significance, and also being on a road, on a journey. All of you know that, you know, the Wizard of Oz pops up later on in the Dark Tower, which is kind of crazy. But another one which was actually in the original Gunslinger, and then replaced, ironically, with Careless Love, you know, which is a folk standard that we'll get to talking about here once we get to book 4. But it was called 100 Leagues to Banbury Cross, and I mean, basically, it's an old English standard of sorts from like the late 1700s, 1784. It dates back to all the way back to the Banbury, which is a city in you know, England and stuff like that. And it's just an old children's rhyme, you know, which is basically 100 leagues. If I can even sing it properly, it's like 100 leagues to Banbury Cross, to see if I lay upon a white horse, rings on her fingers and bells on her toes, and she shall have music wherever she goes. Yeah, simple little kids' nursery rhyme. So once again, King with the connective tissue going back and forth. And I find it funny that when he revised, he wanted to inject Careless Love, because he hadn't obviously decided. He knew Susan was going to be in there, but he hadn't really decided that he was going to even have that song, you know, be sung by Ms. Delgado as she's, you know, prancing around to, you know, read the cues. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, you know, the only thing that I'm kind of bummed as far as music references goes that was omitted from the original, and this is one thing I have to tell all of you constant readers and Tower junkies, is that read the original version of the Gunslinger if you can find a copy. I found a used paperback for hella cheap, and when I was doing my reread of the Gunslinger last year, I read both the revised and the original edition at the same time. And so the revised edition, it alters some wording, and it actually takes away a lot of the connective tissue, because there used to be way more. You really did think that it was our world that had moved on, as opposed to a similar corresponding dimension, reality, whatever, like I said, that has moved on. And so there's a John Lennon reference. So you know the scene, and since I'm early on, I'm gonna try my damnedest not to get super spoilerific, but you know, yeah, there's just certain parts where you have to give context. And so, you know, where Jake is about to get dropped by Roland, and you know, he's like, "Go on, there's other worlds than these," and you know, Roland just drops him. You know, after that happens in the original Gunslinger, basically, Roland immediately realizes that new karma has been formed based on, you know, the decision that he just decided to make. It's almost like the create your own adventure, like the branching paths kind of shizzle. And so immediately after he uses the word karma in little, you know, boy, I can't even think of the type of punctuation it is, but in little brackets, I guess I'll say, he says, "And we all shine on." Yeah. And so he's immediately thinking of, you know, the instant karma, because that was instant new karma just based on him doing that. So that's a reference I'm actually pretty bummed that they decided to take out musically from, you know, the revised edition. Because in many ways I do prefer the revised edition, because it adds some additional insight and interesting foreshadowing and stuff like that. But it's just some of those little Easter eggs to our world that I'm kind of bummed that King drew a few more of them out. As we continue on and we jump to the drawing of the trace for Musica, obviously it's like a double the size book, and I caught a lot of heat for my thoughts on this book when I did my original review, and especially when I did my ranking review of the Dark Tower books, because I put this one like way behind. But you know, if you want to see how I've ranked the Dark Tower books, yeah, go check out that video if you've read all of the Dark Tower books. If you haven't, don't go skipping to the end, because Sai King would be very upset with you. But yeah, we jump right into craziness here, and it's just funny because when Eddie is being interrogated after trying to smuggle the drugs and Roland has jumped into him and stuff, he just all of a sudden starts laughing at one particular point, and just he starts, I can't remember if he thinks or if he sings it, but he's like, I ain't got nobody, and it's that stupid David Lee Roth solo song where he did this music video. Well, here, let's just roll the tape. Horrible, right? Like, it's not even rock, it's not even like the kind of borderline, you know, cheese metal that Van Halen specialized in. It's just the fact that that randomly occurred to Eddie. Eddie obviously is the character that he probably has the most musical references of anybody in the entire books, at least in the first 4 as I was re-examining them. He's a pop culture junkie, as we all know, you know, and he probably makes the predominance of the references, especially since, you know, he was the 80s dude, you know, and so he was the one that had the most contemporary references of all of the quartet to put forth. And so, yeah, I guess that's probably why he's most responsible for all of these musical little anecdotes and stuff like that. But yeah, I love the line from his brother, which I've seen, and it's a music reference. You know, it's been turned into memes everywhere, and I think a lot of people are under the impression it's more so Sai King saying this, but no, it's Sai King saying this through Henry, Eddie's older, super junky brother, and he's like, life's a fiction, the world's a lie, so put on some Credence and let's get high. How many a person has taken that and been just like, yeah, man, let's smoke pot, bro? That's not what Eddie's brother was referring to. Much worse stuff, y'all. And then there's a big debate because King starts out a particular chapter in this where he's talking about, you know, he actually says he's quoting a Billie Holiday song about, you know, one more rocket gonna be your last. And it's actually not a Billie Holiday song, at least in our world, in our version of, you know, on our level of the tower, whatever you want to say. It's actually a song by Huey Piano Smith, and it's called Tuberculosis, man, my handwriting is jacked, and the sinus flu. And it's actually, it sounds very much like, you got the boogie moon and the boogie woogie flu. Yeah, you could tell I didn't, I got the rockin' pneumonia and the boogie woogie flu. There it is. And it's like pretty much the same melody, but I would contend here that in whatever weird alternate, you know, dimension, I guess, that Detta or whoever, and man, I'm trying to remember. No, obviously, you know, the rocket, one last rocket. We're talking Henry. Yeah, I would say that who knows if Billie Holiday didn't do some weird slowed down, you know, to like I don't know. Well, who knows? Could have been Billie Holiday in some other, could have been upbeat, could have been whatever. Who the hell knows what, Billie Holiday could have been white in this other weird dimension. We don't know. And so for that reason, let's just leave the argument, because I saw some people in certain comment boards and stuff that I was looking at just reaming King for being wrong. I think King was very deliberate in this particular decision. Trust me, I know. To speed through just the rampant references, I mean, when Henry's brother when Eddie, Henry's brother, is being held, you know, and they're talking about, you know, hey, your brother needs a bridge over troubled water, okay? You know, a Simon and Garfunkel reference. And then when you actually see Henry and he's so just stoned the F out, he's jacked, you know, he's high on heroin. And the mobster dudes are messing with him, and they're like trying to play trivia with him, and they're like, this is a man who had songs called, you know, Boy Named Sue, and so on and so forth, and also known as the Man in Black. And he can't get it, and so the Man in Black, you know, that's a very deliberate reference, obviously, so I thought that was pretty dope. And then, man, Eddie, once again, with just the funniest references, like, across the board. He has this Barbra Streisand reference where he's talking about, you know, Rolo is like, yeah, there's people who need people to need them. I just started for the first time in a while, like since I hadn't read these books in about a year. This was so much fun for me, guys, because I was just like re-envisioning their voices in my head, especially Eddie's, because I never thought of, you know, Jake as having as thick of a New York accent, or, you know, I don't know. I mean, Susanna goes, you know, into her Dada and Odetta and stuff, and that's where, you know, you can really probably hear the drawl and so on and so forth, you know, from her being originally from a different area of the country, but, you know, before relocating to New York with all that dentist money. But, yeah, nonetheless, that just funniness throughout. And the next one where I'm going to actually kick to a clip is where, you know, 1959, you've got, well, this is Dada, not Odetta. And this is when she was going around in her alter ego kind of form, and she loved messing with these white boys, you know, and she loved just getting them all hot and bothered and stuff like that, and then just like scratching the shizzle out of their faces and stuff. And there's one scene in the book where she's got this guy in the car, and they're getting, you know, they're necking, as they said in the 50s or whatever. And this song, just the brief clip you're going to see, it says so much about the stupidity of the era, in my opinion.
Sea fishing in a submarine, we go to drive-in movies in a limousine. He's got a whirly birdie, 12-foot yacht. Ah, that's not all he's got. He's got 10 shoes with pink shoelaces, a polka dot vest and that old man with 10 shoes with pink shoelaces, and a big Panama with a purple hat band.
Yeah, her boyfriend's not handsome or anything, but he dresses weird, presumably because he has so much money. He's quirky and can do whatever the F he wants. He owns like submarines and yachts and all. What a stupid flippin' song, man. I tell you, like the sort of drivelous crap that kids were obviously watching on TV back then. Not that that's happening anymore. Anyway, as we continue jumping around, you know, there's lots of standards and stuff, especially when we see some of the civil rights stuff that Odetta was doing. You know, "We Shall Not Be Moved" and a few other, you know, more popular older folk songs on like kind of resistance, rebellion type songs and stuff like that, kicking way back. How far we going back? Way back, and it goes a little something like this. We've also got a reference to Duke Ellington's A Train. You know, quickest one that can get you to Harlem, yo. And then also. This was another one that I loved so much. I just gotta kick it to, man, because it's a very poignant scene in the series, because it's where you first see the seeds of love between Eddie and eventually as she becomes known as Susanna. This is a beautiful song, man. It's by the Platters, and it's called "Heavenly Shades of Night Are Fallen."
Heavenly shades of night are falling. It's twilight time. Out of the mist your voice is calling. 'Tis twilight time. When purple-colored curtains mark the end of day, I'll hear you, my dear, at twilight time.
Yeah, it's twilight time. That song, actually, I have such an adoration for this like 50s kind of stuff, man, because I grew up on Back to the Future, and Earth Angel, the one I adore, stuff like that. I mean, I love, like, especially when it comes to like Yoki, and when I'm not singing and screaming in, you know, a punk metal band and stuff like that. I have such a soft spot for the old blues belters and for, you know, stuff like this. It's just, I mean, gosh, it's beautiful, as I'm sure you just saw. So that, you can tell the music ante was upped in that second book, man. Like seriously. And I mean, jumping into just it's debatable between the. I mean, this is probably the most amount of music references is in this third book, The Wastelands, which, as I've told you guys many times, it's neck and neck between The Wastelands and between Wizard and Glass is my personal favorite. In the Dark Tower series, they are my two absolute favorites. During my ranking, I decided that it has to be Wizard and Glass, and I think I even mentioned that when I was reviewing Wizard and Glass by itself, but there's a lot less music in Wizard and Glass, you know? I mean, there's music references and stuff, but this is where they stuff the turkey fat, yo. Seriously. I mean, you start out early on with hearing Eddie talk about, you know, going to see speed metal bands like Megadeth and Anthrax at the Meadowlands and Jersey, yeah. the fact that they were still calling them speed metal back in 1991 as opposed to thrash I don't know, I'm sure some people still call them speed metal, you know? I mean, the speed metal movement in the Bay Area as it was going on at the time. And then when he's just, you know, they're trudging through Midworld, and him and Susanna, and he just tells Roland, and he's just envisioning how, you know, he wishes he was just walking around listening to Creedence and on his Walkman and eating hot dogs and stuff. And you can tell Creedence is one of Eddie's favorite bands, and Eddie's a man after my own heart because CCR, dude, oh boy. I have their box set with the, you know, stuff before they were even called CCR for a reason, man. Whether it's the biggies like, you know, Bad Moon Rising, Unfortunate Son, and Have You Ever Seen the Rain and stuff like that. I mean, up to, you know, stuff like Effigy and, I mean, Deep Cuts. I mean, gosh, there's so much great Creedence, man. I tell you guys, if you haven't properly explored Mr. Fogerty and, you know, Ramble Tamble and just all of the amazing, amazing stuff that he did, I mean, well, with his band, but he pretty much was the band in a lot of ways. You know, he wrote the songs, played the guitar, saw him live, amazing, can't go wrong. And yeah, so this is our first big time reference, and I'm sure you guys know because the phrase pops up a couple times in the book. That's right, paint it black.
I see a red door and I want it painted black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black.
And I chose the Vietnam footage because of the fact that I kind of feel like the parallel that they were kind of going with is that, you know, obviously it was like the favorite song in Vietnam for these guys to just storm the jungles with and stuff like that. I'm sure Run Through the Jungle, another CCR song, was another favorite, but I think it was voted by veterans of the Vietnam War as the most popular. I think Doors were also on there and so on, but I'm making the parallel here of the fact that the quartet, as they're trying to assemble themselves, are, you know, they need to go through this door because they're trying to, or, you know, open this door essentially so they can pull Jake through and, you know, go to war basically. And so yeah, it's a creepy song. It's maybe my favorite Rolling Stones song. I don't know, Get Off My Cloud's pretty damn good. You see another Rolling Stones song come later with 19th Nervous Breakdown that shows up in one of the later books. But yeah, man, Paint It Black, as you guys just saw, super awesome. And then when we do these flashbacks to Jake before his accident, and like he's approaching that point where he gets like split in two, and basically it's like Doc Brown, where he's showing the different timeline of 1985 when Biff Tannen gets the almanac, and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. It was funny when I saw somebody do a meme recently where they were talking about all these alternate Halloween timelines, and although the Nostalgia Critic did it better, I was more like nostalgic by seeing Kristopher Lloyd there, you know, with the chalkboard and everything and trying to explain what's going on. That was funny, but the point being is that when he's walking around New York and stuff like that, he's just putzing around and trying to figure out why he's feeling so discombobulated and all the stuff they did so poorly in that movie. But he hears two songs specifically. He hears "Calling Dr. Love," like one of the most cheese dick Kiss songs. I mean, you want to hear good Kiss songs, you listen to like I don't know, Black Diamond, or you listen to, oh goodness, God of Thunder or something like that. Save Your Love, damn, that's another really good one. But the point being, he hears that song, and then the other song that he hears is this super, super sexy Donna Summer song. It's Love to Love You Baby, and she's just like boning in the background and stuff, like long before White Zombie and Guns N' Roses and all these other bands were having like the sex sound, moaning, silliness, whatever in the background. The Queen of Disco was like turning a lot of people on, probably both men and women, since, you know, the disco time was all freaky. And I was listening to this song as I was like preparing notes, and it was so funny because I found the 17-minute version on YouTube, and I was like, oh, all the people were so coked out that they had to have a 17-minute extended version where the vocals drop out and it goes just to like so disco, y'all, so damn disco. But if you've never heard that song, it's awesome. It's a classic in my opinion. And so he's hearing those two songs as he's about to, you know, step in, and in one reality he steps in, he gets smashed and, you know, knocked in, and he's at the way station, and then in the other one, in Doc Brown's alternate timeline, that's where, yeah, he ends up, you know, jumping through, or getting pulled through the door, I should say. And someone had this theory about, you know, Eddie being a big CCR fan, and there's a CCR song called 99 and a half, and when he's carving the key, you know, and he's like, I gotta do better than 99%, and they're like, oh, he was 99 and a half, and I'm like, this is where you're officially, you Tower junkies reading way too far into things, you know, you're like a flippin' Westworld fan or something, I don't know, but yeah, another funny one, and this will be our next clip that I show you guys, because I'm not a Deadhead. They're one of those few classic rock bands where I know probably, you know, the singles and stuff, you know, I Will Get By, I think is one of them, and Crucify Me if I'm wrong, you know, On the Cherry Tree. But they have a very funny reference in here where Jake shows up at the Manhattan Restaurant of the Mind, right? And he's just meeting, you know, Tower and Deep Enough for the first time. And he's talking about the riddle that Samson told in the Bible, you know, about yeah, it was a lion, right? The hell am I saying? Yeah, it was a lion. It wasn't a tiger or anything like liars and tigers and bears. Yes, Shardak, oh my. But yeah, so basically, Aaron Deepknot, basically, after he mentions the Samson and the riddle part about the lion's jaw and whatever, well, basically, Aaron Deepknot jumps in with this.
Now Samson and the lion, they got in attack. Samson, he crawled up on the lion's back. And you read about this lion, he killed a man with his paws. Samson got his hands up around that lion's jaw. And he ripped that beast, God knows it, killed him dead. And the beast made honey in the lion's head.
Yeah, who knows how many drugs those guys were on stage, but, you know, this was a dope song, and this made me want to explore the catalog of the Grateful Dead a little bit more so, and I'm not sure if I will. I would like to, but, you know, they join a list. Many bands that, including another one called King Crimson that I'll be getting to in the next video, which will be exciting, you know, when I do part 2 of this particular Music of the Dark Tower Spotlight and stuff like that. But that, another awesome moment, Eddie screaming, hey ho, let's go, you know, when they're, you know, soldiering on at one particular point, and obviously that's a nod to not just the Ramones and Blitzkrieg Bop, but Pet Sematary, yes, the battle cry of I'm gonna go dig up my son, I'm Louis Creed, I'm gonna dig up my boy in Pet Sematary. So yeah, I thought that was another quirky little wink, little Easter eggy thing from Mr. King. And so as we finally get to the band, which I think most people aside from the Rolling Stones think of when they think of when they think of the Wastelands. We are getting into some ZZ Top references. One of the funniest that I found was where Susanna is thinking about, you know, back when I had legs and I knew how to use them. Oh, that line just made me laugh so hard. And then, you know, she's thinking back to, you know, the kinds of songs that she would sing, or that she would actually dance to when she had those legs to move them, you know, and it was like, the hippie shakes, and, you know, double shot of my baby's love, you know, that keyboard is, or excuse me, that organ is just so damn catchy. If you guys haven't heard either, like, these are the type of songs that I love the fact that King grew up when he did, and also the fact that I had the kind of parents that I did, you know, growing up in the 80s and stuff like that. I got that 50s and 60s and 70s stuff from them because my parents are Stephen King's age, you know, late 60s. I think King just turned 70, and my parents are like, yeah, late 60s, and well, you don't need to know my parents' age, but nonetheless, yeah, I got the same stuff that King grew up on, and so I knew so many of these references, and I was just like, so good. And I think some of them may be kind of lost on a lot of the newer people going through the Tower books, possibly. But, you know, who knows? Music is, you know, music is a wheel, just like Ka and everything, and so what goes around comes around, and, you know, yeah, something gets featured in a movie or a video game or whatever, and then it's exposed to a whole new audience and stuff like that. But this is maybe my favorite thing in this entire video, and this was actually the first piece of content that I downloaded for this, guys. So when they're approaching Lud, right, and they hear like the loudspeakers blaring, and Eddie's like, that's backbeat to a rock song, you know, because Roland's all confused and whatnot, and even Jake and Susanna, you know, they're not of the time where ZZ Top has really come into their 80s popularity, you know, because when they were doing stuff like Tush and, you know, whatnot in the 70s, I mean, they were still like a rock band, you know, very much like blues rock and whatnot, but they got kind of cheese synth and stuff like that, and still maintained their edge and their rockness and stuff. But when they were doing these and stuff like that, and you know, the cars coming out, this video for what they think it's Sharp Dressed Man initially, and then he's like, that's not Sharp Dressed Man. That's that video, man. That is like, I haven't watched a lot of like, I think this is later 80s ZZ Top, man, but this video, as you just saw, the Pharaoh Princess is at the beginning, and geez, man, so awesely bad, but that backbeat at the beginning, super dope. As a drummer myself, super dope, guys. That video is, it's good fun. Yeah, jumping back to a little bit more, I mean, Eddie is so funny in just dropping, like, he drops a lot of Atlantic City references, he drops a lot of references to like the crooners that jump back and forth between Vegas and Atlantic City, like, that, you know, making his Sinatra references, and he's got a really funny one about this Tony Orlando Dawn song, which if you guys have the chance to check out this video, it was not worth including in this, but the song is so funny. It's called Knock 3 Times, and it's just about how, hey, if you want to come in my room and, you know, knock boots, knock 3 times, but if you knock twice, you know, oh, the video is so bad. And this was even like, this is 70s, I want to say. It's like before music videos were music videos. They called them promotional videos. So damn, so funny. Tony Orlando and Dawn, knock 3 times. It's a beaut of funniness, and all that he really does is when they're showing up in Lud and the Pubes and the Greys are fighting, and I think the Pubes are like killing, they're like public execution of Greys. It's crazy, and he's like, oh yeah, what a great, because everybody's cheering like somebody just won in Atlantic City, like somebody, you know, big money. And he's like, yeah, somebody should start playing Tony Orlando and Dawn, and you know, that's all that we need right now to set the mood proper. Man, this is a funny one, and this is so funny that I actually had to write it down because I want to sing it myself because it's so funny. So when when Gasher, when he kidnaps Jake and he takes him down below Lud, and they're going through all the mazes and stuff like that, and he's like, Gasher, I'll get you. I guess maybe that sounds more like Rhea, but nonetheless, oh, Gasher, yeah, whatever, not important. The point being here is that at one particular time, you know, when they're going through the maze, you know, below this destroyed city and whatnot, that's kind of like New York, it's a little cray-cray. He's like, I want you to sing for me, boy, sing me something, so on and so forth. And he's like, what the hell can I sing? What the hell can I sing? And he's like, okay, I'll sing a song that I learned at summer camp. And it's like, my girl's a corker, she's a New Yorker, I buy her everything to keep her in style. She's got a pair of hips, just like 2 battleships. Oh boy, how that my money goes. Yeah, that's how my money goes. Such an amusing bit of crap, and I just don't even know what to say beyond that. But as I was watching, it's an old like country standard, and I watched a few different YouTube videos on this. It's called My Girl's a Corker. Yeah, damn funny. And the fact that of all things, that's what Sai King decided he wanted Jake to start singing. Oh, I had a lot of laughs when I was doing research, as you can tell. I'm in kind of a giddy mood, and I'm like stone cold sober, which is what's so funny. That just shows just the hilariousness of King to me sometimes. Like when he's funny, he's very funny. And yeah, the last couple things that I have to mention is you know, once they get on Blaine, and he creates like this weird like kind of lounge situation for them. And you could almost, I think it's even Eddie once again who mentions, you know, you could almost hear like Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael in here. And if you haven't heard Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael, I know I've heard it in either a noir or some sort of old like 30s or 40s movie or something like that. It's just really, it's strangely sad because he's, you know, as so many great songs are, lamenting, you know, love and stupidity and stuff like that, and, you know, looking back and whatnot. Yeah, Stardust is great, and it's just a brief little reference, so it's not like, it doesn't play a key component, but the fact that Sai King chose that song, I want all of you guys to go check out Stardust by Hoagie Carmichael, because it's beautiful, talking about the stardust of lost love and whatnot. It's pretty dope. And the whistle solo, blow the whistle. So funny. And then even, once again, we get one last ZZ Top reference from Eddie, like right at the end of the book, where he's asking Blaine, put some different music on or something. And he's like, do you want some ZZ? He asks if he has ZZ Top, and he's like, how about Tube Snake Boogie for you, Eddie? And so, yeah, and that basically takes us to the end of the Wastelands music. But you guys know, if you've read both of these books, Wizard and Glass starts right exactly where it left off. Just like from 2 to 3, we connect directly, and so we just jump right into more references. Blaine, as you guys know, because they're going to, well, if you've read the books, and once again I said spoilers territory, but not trying to like spoil too much, but just give context. They're heading toward Topeka, and he's getting ready to go into kamikaze mode, and he just starts dropping references everywhere. He goes like Music Reference City, everything from like Sinatra to the Allman Brothers to Billy Idol, as the riddling is going down and as he's getting crazier and going back and forth between Pilgrim and then I'm Jaime Star, and so on. And so I love the stuff with Blaine, and there's even a Patricia reference. I think the Patricia reference, if I remember, is from the Allman Brothers song or album or something. In any event, that could have either been that song or, The Other Train, it's his corresponding sister Train. So that's, once again, King with the layered references, guys. This is me really geeking out, so I'm glad for all of you Tower junkies that have stuck with me throughout the entirety of this, and hopefully you've enjoyed some of the stuff that we've seen so far. Jumping into man, once they get to Topeka and you catch all of the Stand references, I must say it's really a crime if you've read book 4 and you haven't read the Stand, guys, because you're missing so many references. I'm just poking fun, but you get to where Captain Trips has ravaged this alternate reality, which is different than the one in the Stand, but RF jumps all over the place, his influence isn't far, but it's really funny that they come across a Sex Pistols reunion poster, and of course they start joking, "Ha! This is definitely a different world than ours, because the Sex Pistols would never reunite." Sex Pistols reunited. For money, for money, for money. And yet the last time they reunited, they actually broke up here in Arizona, in Tempe I think it was. They broke up on stage in the middle of their set. Crazy, yeah. Not one of my favorite punk rock groups. They are definitely more a novelty act in a lot of ways, but pretty funny. So now we jump forward to, it's the basis of this up here, the first Dark Tower series of stuff, at least the very, very first book that Marvel did, The Gunslinger Born is. And they adapted the young Roland portion in, Tambry, Magus, and whatnot, where him and Bert and Elaine go to basically spy for his father, and they all take up their alternate names, and Roland becomes Will Dearborn, and he meets the love of his life. That is the foreshadow in the very first book that I talked about at the very beginning of the video. The songs that she was singing Diana Ross and Michael Jackson running around towards Dark Towers. Really, really weirdness. But Susan Delgado is going around singing a song called Love. Oh love, oh careless love. Can't you see what careless love has done? Once my cares were far away. Yes, once my cares were far away. Now my love is gone from me and misery's in my heart to stay. I effed that up. I'm sorry, y'all, but I listened to so many different takes on it, and it was funny because I even listened to the take that Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan did, where they're talking about she can't keep away from my 44, and I was like, holy crap, you guys are nuts, man. It's on YouTube. It's even got like Wizard and Glass, like some artwork and stuff in there. It's messed up, man, but I love Susan going around and singing the song, and initially she just sings love, oh careless love, can't you see what careless love has done? And then it's when she's going to see Rhea, and basically promise herself to the mayor, and he's like, I can't wait for evening so I can do more than grope your boobies and stuff like that, horn dog status. And then she figures out the second verse after Rhea goes in, before she like checks her out. Ugh, so gross. But and the second verse is the one that I was just talking about. Once my cares were far away. Yes, once my cares were far away. Now my love is gone from me, and misery is in my heart to stay. And I haven't found any versions with those particular lyrics, so maybe King was just riffing, and that would make sense, for Midworld to have, they have their own songs and stuff that are from ours, but they give them their own little twist, their own little slant, like the Billie Holiday thing that I was talking about earlier, So, and the next one, the next one is very funny. guess what pops up in Midworld?
Yeah, come on over, baby. We got chicken in the barn. Woo, honey, come on over. We got food by the horn. Oh, we baking a whole lot of chicken going on.
Jerry Lee frickin' Lewis, right? Yeah, singing about we got chicken in, yeah, we got chicken in the barn. So funny, man. And watching that old clip that I just showed you guys, that dude was way ahead of his time, man. I really, for the 1956, maybe? 50, I don't know, I didn't write the date down, but late 50s, I'm pretty sure it was 56 or 58, something like that. But nonetheless, yeah, you guys can see if you go and seek it out on the YouTubies for the full clips, since these are all just little tastes, because I couldn't show you these full clips, guys. I would get copyright hit. I still might get copyright hit, even though I'm showing you just tiny little chunks of this. This is probably not going to be a monetizable video for the horror show, regardless of how many views we get. But you know what? It was all about El Pasión and the fact that I wanted to talk about the music of this and just how funny I thought it was when you go into the Traveler's Lodge and, oh, you know, there's Sheb back. You know, he's not in Tull, obviously. Then once again, remember, this is young Roland, and when we see Sheb in the Gunslinger in Tull, he's way older, and he's getting down with well, he was getting down until Roland stepped in, you know, with the chick who owned that particular saloon. And so, yeah, he doesn't really play that much of a part. I mean, oh, my heart goes out to Sheemy. Poor Sheemy. I love Sheemy. But he goes through tons of different standards that have their own, like, slightly different name, you know? I mean, stuff that presumably could have been from Bob Dylan, stuff that presumably could have been from Jesse Davis, Marilyn Scott. And most of them have the word boogie in it, you know, like Beer Bottle Boogie, Red Dirt Boogie Brother, and stuff like that. And it's really only just titles that we see. I don't even think we get lyrics for any of these. It's just him going into these particular songs and the different scenes that we have. Traveler's Lodge, Coffin Hunters, and Big Coffin Hunters. Ooh, yeah, Big Coffin Hunters. Ugh. So, and yeah, we're actually getting really close, guys, because as I said, there's not really a lot of music as much as there's nowhere, because you don't have Eddie really in this except he bookends stuff. And of course there's going to be some Eddie references to finish things off here. But I mean, when we're going through the middle, aside from Careless Love and, you know, those little references, there's really not much else to say. I mean, maybe I could go, char you a tree, char you a tree, char you a tree. Yeah, that was my little freak out moment. But yeah, I guess that was more so a chant than like a real song. So I don't know. I'm not going to explain the context of Char You Tree. I told you I'm not trying to go like full-on spoiler crazy with this. But yeah, guys, once we get back to our new Katat, you know, as opposed to the old Katat when they were youngsters and whatnot, one of my absolute favorite moments in the entire Dark Tower series happens when they're walking down the road. They're off to see the wizard, right? You know, and that leads into when they see this Emerald Castle in the distance on this path that they've been going on. Basically, everybody knows about the Wizard of Oz except for Roland, right? You know, because he's not from that world. And so Susanna basically just all of a sudden says, well, I guess we're off to see the wizard. And then Eddie has the best part. He's like, because. And then, of course, Jake and Susanna chime in with, because of the wonderful things he does. And it's just such an endearing moment. And then Roland's just looking at them like, what the hell is wrong with you people? You are all complete idiots. It's before he starts loosening up a little bit more in book 5. But yeah, I mean, there's another reference or two. I mean, you know, Eddie comes up with some good ones where he's like, yeah, we're going on the dark side of Psycho Moon, and you know, and he's like, I'm not singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That's not in my contract. So, you know, he gets his little barbs in there, which, you know, made me smile and whatnot. And the song that I'm going to show you a clip for here right now, as we really are getting to the end of this very lengthy video, thanks for bearing with, it's for a song called Green Door by Jim Lowe. Tell me if you don't think this song is creepy.
Midnight, one more night without sleeping, watching till the morning comes creeping. Green door, what's that secret you're keeping?
Yeah, I didn't play the chorus. That churns things up a little bit and, you know, gives you a little bit more context. Oh, they're going to a jazz club, and yeah, can you imagine just you walk up to this green palace where you know RF is hiding, and you know, if you actually, I can only imagine, because I wasn't in the loop for this one, I'll admit it, you know, so it was cool finding some context here and just seeing how somebody in the loop would find so much creepier what was going on here. So yeah, man, I gotta tell you, like you saw with that video just now, Jim Lowe, pretty funny. And the last reference that we pretty much get in this, you know, after you know, oh man, Careless Love and all of the stuff we mentioned, the Wizard of Oz stuff, is the most gunslinger reference, I guess, and it comes, you know, at the very end with Mr. Marty Robbins, and this reference about a big iron, I believe it is, that of course Eddie makes it, you know, and he's like, yeah, as we're forging forward, and he's thinking about how much he wants to, you know, see the tower, and you know, he's upset. He is officially at the point of obsession after 3 and 4, which I think is really cool and intriguing, and I mean pretty much all of them are, I guess, but Eddie is really like hook, line, and sinker, probably even after 3, but you know, he's just reaffirming as he looks at Roland, and you know, he sees, you know, the saddle woods and stuff on his or saddle boards or whatever they call them. It's eluding me at the moment. You know, his big old guns, his big iron, and he makes the Marty Robbins reference. And so check this song out real quick. Even look how the guy looks a little bit like Roland.
To the town of our free rode a stranger one fine day. Hardly spoke to folks around him, didn't have too much to say. No one dared to ask his business, no one dared to make a slip. The stranger there among them had a big iron on his hip.
He did, didn't he? Yeah. I mean, it didn't look like Idris Elba. That's apparently the Roland that we're supposed to buy into now. The guy doesn't even wear, and where's your hat? Yeah, so that's all this is probably going to be, maybe with the exception of the live Hail to Stephen Kings that I've done, the longest Hail episode. Now can you see why I had to break this into 2? We still have 3 more novels to go over, okay? So part 2, which is going to be coming on Tuesday, peeps, is going to be basically books 5, 6, and 7, and there's a lot of great music references to get to. I'm really looking forward to Someone Saved My Life Tonight. I love that Elton John song. It's beautiful. It's in book 5. There's so much cool shizzle to talk about in the last 3 books. Man, the sprawlingness of book 7 and all of its madness. And then next Saturday, a week from today, when we're going to be covering Mad Monster. So if you are in Arizona, come to the biggest horror convention in the state of the year. You know, it's an awesomely put together by Mad Monster Party. For the first 3 years that we attended, we were just regular, you know, fans going and trying to sneak interviews and stuff like that as the channel, you know, was in its infancy. But now we have grown to the level where we are the official press outlet and the only official press outlet of Mad Monster, and so we're going to be helping them out with a bunch of stuff for their YouTube channel. We're also going to be doing interviews for ourselves, talking to different booths, vendors, artists. You know, there's so many friends that we have made over the years, because as much as I love Phoenix Comic Fan Fusion Fest, whatever the ferg they're calling it at this point, Square Egg, what's going on, guys? I love Mad Monster more so because there is so much more of an intimacy with all of these celebrities. The guest list is ridiculous. Robert Englund, Freddy Firkin Krueger is going to be there. Amazing. Dee Wallace is coming back. There's just tons of talent. It's going to be a bunch of fun, and we're very much looking forward to covering it. It is Friday, the 13th of July through the 15th, which is Sunday. So come out and see us. We're going to have a booth, and we're going to be running around doing interviews, so look forward to that. I have to extend a grande gracias, and I should probably actually say what that next Saturday video is going to be. It's the original video that I had intended when I talked with Mr. Rubber Soul, Rob Corderis, Shot at Man. We talked about this video for a long time, and I know we were talking about it for music for the entirety of the King multiverse. That just wasn't going to happen. There was just too much to cover here. There's too much to cover in the stand. It's going to be fun. So this is a new series that I'm doing called like the Stephen King Musical Spotlight. And the next one after I do the Tower is definitely going to be the stand. I'm not sure if there's anything else that is as iconic and has as many different people who are inspired by it. But yeah, so next Saturday is going to be all of the music inspired by the Dark Tower. I've discovered some cool stuff, and I look forward to sharing a lot of it with you. Now I can extend my grande gracias. It's been such a long near hour with you guys that I'm like, yeah, I'm forgetting things. I'm losing protocol. Can't do that. You can find me on all social media sectors, just at Jaime and Fuego, as you see it spelled below. If you've not subscribed to The Horror Show, please do so. Hit the bell thingy dingy over there so that you can get updates about anytime a new Hail to Stephen King episode comes up, anytime we have a new review. We just did a review of The First Purge. We have a bunch of rad trailer reactions that will probably be up by the time you see this, including... Oh, Mandy was just nuts. That's maybe the most excited I've been, not just for a Nick Cage movie, but for anything in a while as far as just how it's shot and how amazing it looks. Yes, it looks awesome, and I'm losing my train of thought once again because this video has gone on so long. So yeah, we have tons of content from the aforementioned trailer reactions, reviews, convention coverage, which we're going to be doing a lot of for Mad Monster that I just mentioned as well. We have 2 to 3 episodes a day, and it's all free. Make sure to check out our Patreon where you can actually get exclusive content. So if you want to, for instance, have first access to a exclusive review that we do that's requested by a fan. With certain tiers, you can request reviews, you can request commentaries. We're even putting together a King tier, Hail to Stephen King tier, if it's not there already, where you can basically, once we get our live streaming privileges back, and that's a whole other can of worms, that we have a video up that you can see some information about that. But yeah, once we get the live streaming back up, you can be on one of the monthly live Hail to Stephen Kings once those are able to come back. And yes, so we appreciate the support, but that is not going to take away all of the free content that I just mentioned that we have been doing relentlessly for about 4.5 years now. So appreciate all of your support. And until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, sin amigos, constant readers and viewers all across the planet. I look forward until we can be well met once again. And until that instance occurs, remember, stay scared. And read Stephen King. I know this was a music thing, but I mean, he has so many references in his stuff, it's just